As promised, here is a video kind of going over the different assignments that you will have to complete in the next 7 weeks. Again, this is found in the syllabus section on Sakai, so you guys scroll down a little bit, but it is the whole assignment section. It is right here. So I just put a little disclaimer in there. We do APA formatting in all of our social work classes. This might be a little bit different than what you learned in high school and might be required in some of the other classes. This is more of a professional formatting and it aligns with the social work and psychology professions. So if you have any questions on APA formatting, if this is something that's new or unfamiliar, I highly encourage you to click on this and it will bring you to Purdue University has a awesome resource talking to you about everything from the font, the format, and what I'm looking for in APA formatting. And so it gives you examples of what a title page should look like. It's a great resource if you're kind of starting to acclimate yourself to APA or if this is the first time really using it. So that's just a side note. I just wanted to start that off so there's no questions about what the expectations are. All right, so the first assignment I want to go over are chapter reviews. I do believe that you had a similar assignment in HBSE 1 with Dr. Meerman. They are worth 15% of your total grade. Essentially, you will be assigned to read each chapter in the book, primarily all of the life stages. And so after you read them, I'm asking that you upload a one-page overview of the reading to Sakai on its due date. Again, it's due at 10 a.m. on its due date. The upload link does close at that time. So I'm not sure how you've done chapter reviews before for other classes, but what I am looking for is about 3/4 of the page summarizing the chapter content, kind of just the highlights, the things you learned, kind of showing me that you read and were able to absorb and kind of digest some of the material while you were reading it. So it's going to be 3/4 of that. It can be done in a narrative style with sentences, paragraphs, or you may use bullet points. I will caution you with this though. In years past, the bullet points I have noticed can sometimes just be students looking for like the chapter headings or the different section headers. And so that doesn't necessarily show me that you've read and understood the chapter. You may have very well have read it, but to me at first glance it looks like, oh, you're really good at just finding the headings and putting them in there. So if you're opting to use bullet points, that's totally fine, but there has to be a little bit more content in there than just cut and pasted words. So it's up to you how you want to do it, as long as I'm showing that there's evidence that you have read and understood the chapter, that will suffice. I reserve the right to, if I'm noticing that people are using bullet points inappropriately, I reserve the right to be able to say, nope, sorry guys, go back to just writing narrative style. But at this point, I'm hoping that everyone just takes responsibility of their learning and actually read the chapter and be able to give me some good content from it. And then the final 1/4 of the page will be a self-reflection, kind of how you see the material playing out in your social work career, in your life, kind of just some personal thoughts on it. So then that's something that you can just kind of free flow and just kind of critically think around the material. Because it's limited to 1 page, although I'm requesting APA formatting, you do not need to cite the textbook within the bullet points or the narrative part, because I know you're taking it from the book. It'll save a little bit of space. I'm okay with with skipping the citations and references of the textbook. If for some reason you use an outside source, it's not required, and you do cite and reference something different, then make sure you put a reference page in there. So again, to better enforce good APA skills and get us used to getting into that mindset, you do need to have a cover page, running header, page numbers. If you cite an outside source, having a reference page as well. Each chapter review is worth 5 points. They're not high on points, but they are 15% of your grade. The first one will be due on Thursday the 14th, so make sure if you have any questions about this one to reach out to me ASAP. Next assignment is the midterm, which is another 15% of your grade. This will be done at about midway through the semester, hence the word midterm. And it will be done online, probably through Sakai. It will not be an in-seat class. And so the exam consists of essays, short answers, multiple choice, or matching questions. And this can be drawn from the textbook, from lectures, if we have any outside speakers. As the time approaches, I'll give you a study guide and more clarification in class on how to access it on Sakai and how the instructions on the time frame to take it and how to do that. Periodic quizzes could pop up at my discretion. I hate surprise quizzes because I don't want to me it's not worth it to be like, aha, I got you. You weren't prepared. Sucks to be you. That's not my style. I don't know. There's not a lot of value in learning that. The only time they would be used if I really feel like students are not engaging in the material and I need to have some more accountability in completing the online assignments. We might sneak a quiz in. But as long as everyone's staying on top of things and you guys are showing that you're doing your due diligence, I wouldn't expect any of those to pop up throughout the semester. All right, this one, the case study and presentation, is probably what I would call the big assignment for this class. In years past, when COVID was not present, our big assignment was called a toolkit presentation, where it was a group project where each group had to pick a life stage. They had to go into the community, access different agencies in the community that serve their population, get information on there, and really build this resource kit and kind of a toolkit to give to their peers about what resources were available in the community. That is not realistic in the time frame, and it's also not realistic given the fact that face-to-face stuff is pretty much non-existent. So we are going to be doing a case study in a presentation around this. So to start off with, I have written a beginning of a case study for all of you, and so you will be given that near the beginning of class. And basically, I'm just going to pull one up. It's going to be, I'll pull this one up. I just gave you your basic case study demographics. So setting the stage of who your client is. So since we are starting our life stage and human life course perspective at conception, really what I'm giving you is kind of those very basic demographics of birth and kind of what the family they're born into. So you can see for this example, the client that's assigned to the student is a male, and he's born at 37.5 weeks gestation. Gives kind of demographics of his living situation, kind of some drug use that was occurring while he was in utero, and kind of the demographics as far as race, income, and living situation. So at this point, you've gotten this information. You will be required to continue building this case study through each life stage. So the first one that's going to come up is you're going to have to write a case study kind of detailing different events that may have occurred during the beginning stages of life. And so you can see, where is that? For each check-in paper, so written on each life stage, you are going to have to submit a 2 to 3 page summary paper telling the story of the client in that specific life stage. So the first one you can see you do is conception, pregnancy, and birth. And you're going to talk about 3 specific examples of how the client demonstrated normal or maladaptive development during their life stage. So during the lecture part of the class, you're going to hear from me, from a textbook, from your peers, kind of different things that you can expect to occur during that life stage. So for this specific example, it's talking about a client whose mother used drugs while they were in utero. So what impact might her drug use have on your client? Is there risk for different biological issues to occur? Maybe it didn't impact the client at all. It could be withdrawing, could not be. So it's kind of up to you. You get to kind of choose your own adventure and create this story. Like there's no right or wrong direction it can go in as long as you're hitting these objectives in the assignment. And so 3 specific examples of how the client demonstrated, again, normal and maladaptive development during their life stage. And then discuss 7 different dimensions of person, environment, and time that were impacted during each stage. So again, you could focus on the biological aspect that the mother's drug use caused that infant to withdraw at birth and what kind of impact that may have had on development, attachment, all those kind of fun things. And so you'll be equipped with more what's normal behavior and some of those risks by reading the textbook and engaging in the lecture. And then another aspect to kind of pull in that toolkit piece that we're missing from previous years is identifying one local agency that you would refer your client to and how they would benefit from the service. So this could be based on your knowledge of the community resources available. It also could be just from a simple Google search, identifying what would be a good service for your client. So there are going to be 9 of these total. It will essentially be due after we do the lecture on that topic. So on the 14th, we will be talking about conception, pregnancy, and birth. And then the following class, this check-in will be due. So you're going to take the content learned and then apply it and write up your first part of the case study. So essentially, similar to the David Pelzer book from HBSE 1, you're going to be journeying with this client from conception all the way to very late adulthood, and you are going to be able to write their story. You can make it as crazy, bizarre, problematic as possible, or a client might have a very normal, well-adapted, functioning life. It's kind of up to you. So when we get to the end of the semester and at the end of life stage, you're going to have to do a final paper and presentation on your client. So you do a 10-minute presentation on your client system, and you're going to summarize kind of your whole case study from conception all the way to very late adulthood, discuss how all 11 dimensions of person and environment over time were impacted, again, similar to the David Pelzer book, and then sharing with the class the local agencies that you would refer them to at each life stage. And then you're going to take all of those check-in papers that you did and put them into one nice, pretty, condensed case study, and that you'll turn that one in as well. And so what you will know is that there's going to be very little new information be required for this paper if you have done the check-ins appropriately. You're going to do essentially just be cutting and pasting, making sure there's a good flow. There's no new content other than you have to focus on all of the dimensions of person and environment. I think I've changed this not to 11, but to 15. You have to go through all of them. So I would encourage you as you're writing your check-in papers, don't do the same 7 every time. You're going to want to start thinking about all of them. That way, when you get to this one, you kind of have been thinking about all the dimensions as well. Papers will be written in APA format, including citations from the textbook and other sources. So you probably are going to want to cite all of your websites that you might have visited for the agencies. Papers should be 15 to 20 pages in length. Please do not hesitate to reach out to me if this does not make sense or you need clarification. It's kind of hard to share because I know sometimes in my head what I want you to do and I might not have articulated it clearly. So if you have questions about it, please don't hesitate to reach out as the first check-in is going to be due the second week of class. And I'd rather have the questions answered now than waiting till last minute and saying that you didn't know, because you have the opportunity to reach out now. And then the final final assignment is the take-home exam. This is called the signature assignment for the class. It's kind of vague in the description right here because I can't really share all the details until it gets to the end of the semester, but essentially as I give you a case study and you have to write a paper based on the criteria that I gave you. And it'll be kind of pulling in all the different concepts and resources that we talked about over the semester. So you'll get more information as the time approaches. Then the final one is attendance and participation. As you can see, it's a pretty hefty portion of your grade. So 25%, because it's online, there's a lot of personal accountability that you kind of have to take ownership of it. So if we are in class, making sure you're present, cell phones are turned off, if people are giving presentations, not sitting on your laptops, and then just engaging in any forums or online assignments that you might have. Hopefully this makes sense. It is going to be posted on Sakai. I'll touch base with it on our first face-to-face session just in case there's any questions. But again, because some of these assignments are going to be due prior to us meeting, be proactive and reach out if you have any questions. And I am here to answer them as best as I can.